Ha ha! Ha ha!
Only 30 minutes or 22 minutes, honestly. So, Jesus, that's pretty good. We're a couple of tech geniuses. All right. We finally got it going.
Well, you would be handy in a gunfight or removing someone's pancreas, and I can make drugs. So, but apparently we're not so good at getting logged into Facebook Live.
Well, if I were doing surgery on somebody, you would need to make them lots of drugs. I think it would be quite a mess. I'm going to see if I can go sideways. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, man.
Cool.
Life has just gotten so much better. I just feel like it's success already. I've forgotten what we were going to talk about now that I spent half an hour trying to get the damn thing going. Good
Details.
to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
Long time. We got to get together soon. Can you see me all right? I look like a shadow to me.
I kind of look shadowy too, but you know, that we'll just say that we have a tan.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to assault people with my looks anyway. So it could be like one of those cloak and dagger kind of, get the voice from us, or just get the information out there is all folks need, right?
Exactly. Although you get more and more handsome every day, or my eyesight is failing me.
Yeah, your eyes are getting worse.
So,
and you had that surgery, man. What a waste of money. Jeez.
It improved it, but now there's a downslide to it.
Yeah. That's probably the problem. Your vision's too good. So, so what's new in the Robb Wolf world, man? You got your keto course, did you say, right?
Yeah. We finished up the keto masterclass, and we've been launching that. That's a 45-day program, soup to nuts, how to do keto. It's kind of targeted for the Weight Watchers crowd. Like if you are a completely geeked out ketophile, then there's awesome material in there, but you're probably not going to, learn new intricacies of metabolism with this thing. But it's for people that are run aground with what they're trying to do with keto. And interestingly, it actually has a triage section where we help people figure out if keto is even an appropriate approach for them. So it's a little bit different in that regard. It is, in fact, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
That's nonsense.
I know.
It's absolute nonsense.
Everybody should wear one pair of shoes. Everybody should eat one diet. So, yeah.
Right. So I've just got to ask, how frustrated were you with the AC question? Did paleo people have air conditioning?
Yeah, that was awesome. Doc is referring to another one of his brethren in the medical field.
Oh no, you can't blame that dude on me. You can't blame that dude.
Who's apparently a practicing physician and also a practicing vegan, and this guy pops up every 6 months or so and tries to give me what for. And one of the analogies that I used for the guy was if he would educate himself, he would be more effective than a flaccid penis attempting to make a baby. And this guy just comes back again and again. And Doc, this joke. There's a joke where a guy is out bear hunting and he shoots the bear, and then the bear does ungodly things to him, and he keeps coming back. And then the punchline is the bear looks at the guy and he's like, "You're not here for the hunting." And so I know that this guy is not here for the keto or the paleo exchange. So yeah, it was good times.
And he's just so supremely bad at his arguments and metaphors. I mean, like, air conditioning, really? I mean, that's where you're going to go with nutrition is, hey, if you didn't have AC, you should eat veganism.
Right.
That's a great line of logic. I guess it gives you fun things, fun people to banter with, I guess.
So a few people got a kick out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I liked the what did pedantic something?
Oh yeah, he's being a pedantic twerp with a duplicitous
intent
character. Yeah.
Good times.
Those were some GRE words that I pulled out on that one. So yeah.
You just have to love the keyboard warriors, man.
Right.
They keep life interesting.
Indeed.
So
what's new with you, Doc?
Man, just
whoa.
Oh, What happened?
I'm sliding. We had an earthquake in Reno.
Just now?
No, I'm kidding.
I
It
know.
was my phone sliding off my
too.
coffee cup.
Yeah, man, I'm just doing the same old stuff, really. I mean, I don't even know if I told you, like, I got my book up, the Kindle version of my book up,
Yeah,
on Amazon. There's still some tweaks making to that before I put it into hard copy or printable.
nice.
But we're doing like a giveaway bundle that I should know about and you should know about, because it's part of the whole sleep remedy thing. But it's a an online quiz. People can people can go on there, take a quiz. I guess how long you've slept based on your answers to the quiz, and then there's some you do the quiz. There's some sort of sign up for a drawing thing, and we're giving away some bundles, and just trying to increase the variety of. We have especially. I think most of them are probably your followers and your audience. I mean, we have some people who've been drinking the same flavor every night for
years,
3 years, like
right,
2.5 years or something. So we added a flavor. We added some capsule versions for people who just don't want to deal with it. Although I really prefer people to do the drink. So yeah, just doing that, doing the lecture gig, doing some consulting, trying to not get too fat and old and out of shape, like trying to fight off entropy as best I can. But I'm just one man. I mean, what can I do?
You can do a lot, Doc.
I'm no match for entropy, I can tell you that.
I fought entropy in Entropy 1.
Yeah. We could probably sell a shirt on that one. Have you ever seen the guy who's like 4 or 5 bills, has on a neon green shirt that says,
a cure for anorexia.
I beat anorexia.
Right. Yeah.
Good stuff. So listen, man, I wanted to, I've been doing some Facebook Lives and so forth just because,
and clearly I have not been.
I have, I'm no pro with this stuff either. I mean, I've only really kind of started pushing out there because, as we know, I'm a very slow launcher, still have never launched a podcast or anything. So it's just easy to kind of throw these things up at an interval, and every now and then I'll bring somebody on and chat with me. So I wanted to catch up with you, so it's kind of an excuse to make.
Well, I think this is part of your parole obligations, also. So,
well, it's better if we don't talk about that.
That's true. Apologies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know it was a goat, and I was drunk. So.
And that's
anyway,
your story and your.
I mean, let's get past that. So, it's something that kind of seems to be a buzz on social media and questions coming in and so forth, concerns, and just hearing other people's chatter. And I don't want to sound like an elitist, but it doesn't happen to me, so I don't really know. I don't really think about it, but I guess during the holidays, people get run down, people get sick, and it's a pretty common thing. People jumping on planes. Of course, I'm on a plane like every other week, so I don't think about it. But I think I was thinking maybe we could just offer some advice on how to be as anti-fragile as possible during the holidays. And I know a lot of people specifically would like to hear, instead of me just saying what I think you would say, they probably actually want to hear the experts say it. But I think people want to hear if they're eating a clean diet and they want to go off the rails a little bit, is there a smart way to go off the rails? Should they not go off the rails? If they do go off the rails and the wrong way, what's the best way to come back? And if you could, just kind of maybe give us a little outline there of people. So, let's say we want to address the vegans, but let's say you're paleo, you're paleo, you're keto, you're maybe even
Just doing something reasonable, like eating largely whole unprocessed foods.
You're eating real food for your sources of calories.
Right.
And you might want to eat some not real food over the holidays. Some heavily processed sugars and flours and whatnot. Like what's your advice? Like, what do you? Let's start with the keto because I do a lot of ketosis. Obviously, I know you do. Like we've been playing around with that for years. But let's talk about the realities of that. So say somebody who's been on ketosis, for a legitimate amount of time to actually have some, physiologic shifts, the different organelles have shifted and all that within their cells concentration. And so now their machinery's running off some different fuels, things are different. They decide they're going to sugar bomb it and have a slice of cherry pie or whatever. Like, what are they going to feel? And, kind of very basic physiology, like what's going to be going on with them and how do they get back to normal and how long, can they mess around in this sugar state and not feel like a zombie?
Right. Oh man, it's a super good question, and the question is better than my answer is going to be. Put it that way. It depends a little bit. Like you have some people like Peter Attia who are working out all the time, and when he was in ketosis, he could go off rails reasonably well and be right back in, and no dramas with that. There are other people that do not bounce back so well. Like one dalliance, one slice of a pie or whatever, and they feel rough for 2-3 days. I mean, it can be kind of rough. So there's a little bit of a risk reward kind of story there. Like, how much do you want to suffer versus, what that momentary, good feeling may be. One of our staples around the Lazy Lobo Ranch is what's called Keto Fudge. And so it's basically fudge it's amazing. And we use like stevia and some erythritol to sweeten it. And that's kind of my go-to. I will have some other stuff too, but it's just this thing where I can really go face down in this plate of keto fudge and I don't feel bad afterwards.
Right.
And there's really not a lot of drama with it. And so I do some options like that. It's pretty easy with all the cookbooks out there. Like, even if you're going to a family function or something, you can put something together. Like, this is horrible, but I'm a big fan of lemon pie, not meringue. Meringue is just nasty, although I do see an argument for it sealing in the moisture of the lemon, and then you just scrape it off and give it to the dog or something like that.
What is meringue? Just like whipped sugar and egg whites or something?
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's just the most disgusting stuff in the world. Like
I remember seeing that as a kid and it looking really good and being really disappointed when
and then not so good. Yeah. And so we've done low carb pies. We've done kind of crumbles and stuff like that. And so if you want to, it's really not that difficult to just make something. And even if you go to a family function, you can make something that even if the standard American diet folks go in and carve out a piece of this, they're not even going to know there's anything different. So you can kind of fly under the radar with that. So it kind of depends. Like, if you bounce back from this stuff and you bounce back from it pretty quickly, no harm, no foul, no dramas, jump in, kick your heels up, have some fun. You can do some mitigating strategies, like doing a workout before, just simply doing a walk afterwards. Like, just it doesn't have to be like CrossFit intervals, but you just get up and go for a walk outside. That can drop your blood sugar 10, 15 points in just a matter of like 10 minutes. So, and you will feel better. Like, you're not going to get that super gnarly, like rebound hypoglycemia and the foggy headedness and all that type of stuff. So I do encourage people to kick their heels up, but again, just kind of understanding the risk reward story in that whole thing. There are some people that one dalliance is basically leaving Las Vegas. Like, they never come back. So, you just need to know yourself in that regard. And I'm a little bit that way with salty, crunchy stuff, which there isn't a ton of salty, crunchy, items around Thanksgiving. Like Cinco de Mayo is kind of a tough one for me because of nachos and all that type of jive. Like, I can eat all the nachos when those things pop up. So you just kind of need to know yourself and figure out what what you're up to and what the overall goals are. But then again, to remind people, do one meal and then get back on track. And maybe you do 2 or 3 meals that are back on track with whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's keto or whole food or paleo or what have you. And then if you decide you want something else, then have something else. It really shouldn't be that big a deal. And again, if you do some mitigating strategies like some exercise before, a little bit of a walk afterwards, and then I don't want to cross union lines and talk about sleep because that is your purview.
Well, I was just going to throw something out there, because I get asked this about sleep all the time. And I feel like, this is kind of the same mechanism and thought processes going on with nutrition. So, I was, as we've lectured a lot of municipalities and first responders and stuff, and people that work shift work, and they all come up, meekishly after the class and want to ask the question like, how can I make 2 + 2 not equal 4, right? Like, how can I keep doing shift work for the rest of my life and not suffer, right? And you can't, right? It's always going to equal 4. But we talk about mitigating strategies, and oftentimes the question is, is it better to just, if you have to take so many nighttime shifts, is it better to just beat yourself down all at once and then recover all at once? Or is it better to recover faster? So like on the food version of that, the holidays are just getting started. So somebody who goes off the rails Thursday, are they better off? And I think I know the answer to this, but I would like to hear your put on it. Are they better off if they go off the rails on Thursday? Are they better off just saying, well, hell with it until New Year's is over? I know I'm going to be doing all this other stuff. So I'm just going to try to hold this level of not being ketotic and not, maybe having some poorly controlled blood sugar, but having my gut biome kind of used to it. So I'm not getting, GI problems with my meals. Or is it better to say, no, you go off the rails tomorrow, or you go off the rails Thursday, you eat a bunch of potatoes and carbs and whatever, and it blows you out of ketosis. Better to come back to ketosis, get really strong for ketosis before you blow it out again. My guess, but what would you say about that?
Yeah, and
as opposed to just running the season.
Yeah, a lot of it is just the habits that come out of that. Like, these foods are hyper palatable and addictive. And I know people get all spun out. They're like, oh, they're not addictive. But we just need to look around us. It ticks all the boxes of addiction. They absolutely are. And so it's that thing where the habituation is a real deal. And so it's hard to say, just make late November through early January a wash, because that's enough to really undo a whole year's worth of progress with regards to body composition and health and whatnot. And so I think getting back on the rails sooner as opposed to later. And this is, in bringing up some of the sleep stuff. So if you want to be a little more squirrely with your food, and you want some booze, and you want to stay up late at night and really kick your heels up, you are just going to bury yourself. Right. And so it's maybe we have 3 variables here, like food, booze, sleep. Pick 2 of those that you may, 1 or 2 of those that you maybe want to max out a little bit, and kind of I think about Jurassic Park, where the velociraptors are testing the fence, test the fence a little bit, but understand that if you stack all of those together, then it's going to be a disaster. And so if you want to eat more shitty food, do that, but then just try to get your blue blockers on, take your sleep cocktail, go to bed early, and it's going to be way, way better than if you do all of it all the time. And it's not to say you don't do one day where you stay up late, you have booze and you have the sugar, but if it becomes a serial process, it's going to be hard to decouple from that. And again, it's just, if you use a little bit of the analogy of when somebody gets seriously injured and they're in the ICU or bedridden or something, it takes literally 12, 18 hours for massive deterioration in the musculature and the postural muscles and everything. And it's not quite the same with shitty diet plus booze plus sleep, but it's not far off. You know, it's amazing how much someone can unspool themselves. And so again, you know, if you've made good progress and you're motoring along, by all means, kick your heels up, but understand that you've got a couple of different levers you can flip. And if you flip all of them to asshole mode, you're going to get horrible response out of that, you know? And there are some people out of the, you know, if it fits your macros camp, they're like, oh, that's ridiculous. And you should be able to do whatever you want to do. And it's like, well, I wish I could fly, but if I jump out of a building, I'm not, you know? And so there is this point where thermodynamics and evolution and everything converge, and you get to live by those laws or die by those laws. So
it's you know, I guess, you know, what I mean, I deal on a much smaller scale, right? So I have very few clients that I work with throughout the year, but you know, I try to sink that same message home, you know, that there is there's a price for everything you choose to do, right?
Right.
You know, there's a cost for everything, and are you willing to pay the price? It's sort of, you know, the Kojak question,
right?
Or, don't do the crime no, was that Beretta? That was Beretta, right?
Beretta.
Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You know, so it's like if you're gonna you know, do that, you're gonna suffer. I will shamelessly plug sleep in there is probably being the most important component, because, you know, you think about, even if you go off the rails, you know, and you know, what probably the biggest downside of booze is how it affects your sleep, right? I mean, it's more important than, you know,
the caloric content or any of that stuff.
How it's affecting your liver or whatever. Like, if you're not, unless you're, you know, guzzling whiskey every day, that, you know, your liver function's probably not a big deal. You know, but you know, the sleep, you know, you're screwing up your sleep. So if you get more sleep, you know, you're going to at least get a deeper, you know, you're going to get more deep sleep than just because you're sleeping longer. But also,
well, Doc, mention,
you aren't,
you know, like,
you aren't eating when you're sleeping.
Right. You're not
you
eating
aren't
when
drinking.
You're sleeping.
And so there's no real need for self-control there, and you're really anabolic.
Okay, so here's maybe a point, like, you're the one that made me aware that one night of short or disordered sleep can leave a person as insulin resistant as a type 2 diabetic. So that's just kind of something to throw out there and for people to noodle on. But here's maybe an argument. So, you know, you make the point that while you're asleep, you're not eating. So let's say another one of these mitigating strategies. So I mentioned these levers that you can flip. So one of them is the food. One of them is maybe booze. And then the other one is kind of sleep. But maybe timing can be something that's thrown in there as well. If we can eat within a constrained window to some degree, you know, like that 16-8 or something like that, there's some pretty compelling studies that even people eating a very processed standard American diet, as long as they're not eating up until, like, you know, midnight and then going to bed at 1 and they've been eating since 8 a.m., that's a disaster. But if you could get somebody and you say, hey, for a chunk of time, so let's say somebody does want to stay off the rails longer as opposed to shorter, another lever that we could maybe pull out there on the side could be that it's like, okay, do the best that you can to only eat sun up to sundown. And at this time of year, on this side, on the northern latitude, you know, that's not a super broad window. And so it's not that long. And now, you know, will this potentially impact your social life to some degree? Yeah, maybe. But I love the line in Lights Out, Sleep, Sugar, and Survival. It's like, yeah, going to bed early will impact your social life, but so does cancer and diabetes. So, you know, it's again, you know, there's always kind of a trade-off. But if you can figure out some ways of just eating earlier, you know, maybe if you really want that piece of pie, crazy enough, you're probably better off eating in the morning than you are in the night. So if you're kind of noodling on that and you're like, God, I really want that piece of pie, but it's kind of late in the day. If you just tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to have an omelet, a cup of coffee, and a goddamn piece of pie. And then it's kind of like,
eat dessert first.
Eat dessert first.
Robb Wolf.
Because you know, we tend to be much more insulin sensitive in the morning, and so in that way, you know, it's kind of like, you know, if the person's saying they're like, I really want a piece of pie now, but I can have it in the morning. I mean, there may be some people who are like, cry me a river, my life is over, this first world problem is going to destroy me. And then there are other people like, okay, no problem, pie for breakfast. I'm cool with that. You know, that seems like a completely reasonable thing to do. And so we're not going to impact our sleep in the same negative way. We're eating that large caloric bolus and large carb bolus at a time where we are naturally more insulin sensitive as opposed to insulin resistant. There's this whole deal of afternoon diabetes where some people, our insulin sensitivity decreases over time. And in the afternoon and evening, you can be effectively as insulin resistant as a type 2 diabetic again. In the morning, you may be fine. And this is where we kind of cycle through that stuff. And I know that some people have varying degrees of success with like carb backloading and doing carbs in the evening, and you just have to play with that. But my understanding of the circadian biology and the timing of our insulin sensitivity, you're a lot better off eating that stuff earlier in the day.
Yeah. So hell with what they say, drink booze in the morning, right? Like,
right.
We got it. I'm trying to get the camera angle good.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that both of us are sideways, and so I flipped mine up.
Let's see if I go this way.
So
now you and I are the same way. Am I sideways on your screen?
No, you're right up.
All right.
You're an upstanding gentleman now. So.
Oh, no way. Okay, so somebody says, what about? Oh, now I can see the comments. There we go. What about using carbs at night?
That's my good friend Marcy, who chokes me out at jiu-jitsu all the time.
In essence, have a carb coma to induce sleep. Well, comas and sleep are completely different things. Just ask anyone who's been in a coma. I've put myself in that coma before, man, and that is some scary stuff. It feels a lot like getting choked out. I probably 3 years, maybe 2 years. I've run, pretty heavily ketotic most of the year. I'd say 90% of the time. I remember Thanksgiving, I think 2 years ago, and you
told me about this.
Yeah. I was just like, all right, hell with it. I'm gonna have some mashed potatoes, and I'm gonna have some cornbread and cranberry sauce, and like I don't know, I just loaded up and just had a meal, just like my kids were eating. Like I make all that stuff for my kids. I let my kids kind of eat whatever they want over the holidays. I can have more kids, whatever. But yeah, man, I ate that, and then I just kind of felt that, well, must be that tryptophan coma from the turkey, and I go over, kind of sit on the couch, and I'm not quite close enough to the ground, so I lay down on the floor, and I'm kind of spread out, and I could, like, I was aware, I could hear everything around me, but I mean, I really, really, really did not feel like I could move or interact with the world, and I was just like, my daughter was coming over and like slapping my feet around and going, Dad, Dad, and I really felt like I was trying as hard as I could to respond to her, and I really couldn't. I mean, I was just like,
is that why you had a post on your Facebook page about needing a AED and are you just planning ahead for this thing?
I'm getting ready. Every year I get old. I get a little older. I'm just putting more and more medical equipment around the holiday dinner table. So,
well, I can make a dialysis setup for you out of a couple of Coke bottles and a old sock. So we'll be fine.
I don't know. I couldn't possibly imagine anything could go wrong. What could possibly go wrong with that? Let's do it.
Right.
Let's try it out. Just to show people how to do it, because that would be good too. Like
totally.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like we're both upright, but as far as I can tell, I don't think we're.
We got 20 folks following.
What is keto fudge? Somebody's asked. So maybe
keto fudge.
You want to put in a link for a recipe, or you want to?
I will follow up with a link for the recipe. I forget which book it's in. It's in one of these keto books, but the basic idea, and maybe you could Google around and look for this, but it's 100% dark chocolate, like baking chocolate, whole whipping cream, stevia or erythritol, like that Swerve stuff has a combo. And then you can do like some mint extract, some almond extract, or just leave it plain, and then you get like a minty or an almondy type background. And usually you make this stuff up, either put it out in a shallow kind of pie pan, or what we do is put them in these little silicone like cookie dealios, and then we freeze it, and then you can pop those out, and then we've got little single serve deals that we can hand out to the girls, because otherwise they'll go face down in the plate of fudge and just go wild on that. So yeah.
How old are the girls now?
3 and 5, and they are huge.
Okay.
Huge. And they just started doing jiu-jitsu.
Are you sure they're your kids then?
Well, you know, the funny thing, my father was 6'3". Everybody on I have half siblings on my dad's side that the shortest female was 6'5". The tallest males are 6'7" and 6'9". My mom was pretty short, 5'4", but all of her brothers and their sons were 6'2" to 6'3". And I was the tallest kid in my class up until 8th grade. And then I literally just like stopped growing. And when I look back, and like we talked about this, that kind of pubescent growth spurt plus insulin resistance ends up sealing the growth plates. And so yeah, I could have been somebody other than just barely at average.
Could have been a contender.
I could have been a contender. So yeah. Yeah, so there is some height in there, and Nikki's side of the family has some height on her dad's side. So her dad's 6 foot, his dad was 6'2". So I mean, there's some height on both sides, and both of them are well fed and get a lot of exercise. And both girls have pull-ups right now, like 1 or 2 pull-ups. So nice. yeah, it's pretty legit. Yeah.
So Cole's 6'3", 265.
Holy smokes! I remember rolling with that kid. I don't want to roll with him anymore. Yeah,
I don't want to roll with him. He's like, hey, we should go to Jocko's gym tomorrow, and I'm like, I'm not rolling with you, dude.
I've got a hamstring deal.
I got some kind of, I don't know. I need a tampon.
Well, Joe Ruscio just popped up here. He's down in San Diego. Maybe he can do some judo and jiu-jitsu with Cole.
There we go.
But Joe's literally like 100 pounds lighter than Cole is, so that's liable to be a disaster. But it could be fun.
He's hard to move, you know. Because he's not like a ripped up, shredded dude. You know, he's like kind of a smooth dude, so he's like hard to get a hold of and hard
right.
big around, and he's like, So he's no fun to roll with. That's for damn sure. I would have sworn that I'd be able to whip my kids until, my 50s, but it's laughable. I think he could thump me across the street now. So somebody in here wants to know thoughts on vitamin D, getting outside, how important is that for the circadian rhythm, nature, exercise, blah, 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 all the same kind of usual things, and how much vitamin D supplementation. I know there used to be the Robb Wolf calculator that somebody threw up, and my input on that would be definitely vitamin D3, of course, is a hormone, and it's not a vitamin at all, and it's involved in at least 300 and some odd reactions that we know of. Magnesium's a cofactor, so get your magnesium as well. A lot of people are kind of squirrely about, can I take vitamin D3 at night, and how much is too much, and the military was all over my backside about, having guys do 8,000 IUs a day or something. So what I tell people, it's a hormone. It's stored in subcutaneous fat. It takes a really, really long time to go super physiologic, and you have to do some really heavy dosage. So I would say more is better. There's no evidence that taking it at night has anything to do with circadian or ultradian rhythms. And, because, the hormone is being used at all times of the day, I haven't seen any evidence that it's any kind of time, circadian or ultradian time adjuster.
Right.
The peak concentration of it, I don't think it matters what time of day you do that. But if if people are concerned about that, obviously just then do it in the morning. But I'd say over the course of the holidays, you would have a really, really hard time getting getting to any kind of toxic level. The only two case studies in the literature of vitamin D3 toxicity that I saw, both guys were using 2 to 2.5 million IUs every single day for 6 months or 9 months or something. So, if you want to load up on 8 to 10,000 for the next couple of months, while everything's going to be off, and take some magnesium to make sure that you're getting the benefit of all that. That'd be my input. What'd you say on that?
Yeah, not really anything to add on the supplemental vitamin D side, other than folks keep an eye on K2, K3, like make sure that there's some balance with that, because they kind of work in synergy. And then as to the circadian rhythm, one thing I've been doing, and it's kind of funny, I actually got rid of my out of the house office. Although I'm productive there, when I'm home, I can go sit in my backyard. And Reno, even in the winter, you'll get some days where it's quite sunny. You'll get an UV index of like 5, maybe 30 degrees outside, but like you're getting some decent UV. And I will go sit out there. I'll get a sunny but wind protected spot, put on some shorts, no pants, no shirt. And as early as possible, I try to get out there. And even if it's pretty blustery, I will at least get outside as often as I can, particularly in those early hours. And I've got to say, that's just been huge for me. I feel better. My digestion is better. I feel like my kind of carb tolerance is better, because I do some carb loading around jujitsu. And yep. I've noticed that being improved. And so, man, by hook or by crook, if you can get outside in the sun early and just in general try to get as much outside exposure as you possibly can, it's just huge. I read a study recently. I got to give a hat tip to Bill Agakos. If folks aren't following him, he's a super smart dude and pretty geeked out on the circadian biology stuff. But there was a great paper that people who work outside during the day, they are not actually negatively impacted by the afternoon or evening bright lights that we usually get exposed to. The people who tend to be negatively impacted by that and need to put on the blue blockers and all that type of stuff, the real sleep hygiene becomes important, are the folks that are just inside all day. So if you can get that peak sun exposure during the day, during the normal circadian rhythm, it appears, and this isn't to say that the blue blockers and like sleep cocktail and everything wouldn't further enhance sleep and kind of circadian entrainment, but it appears to be way less of a problem versus the person who gets up before the sun is up, hits the office, they're indoors all day, they go work out at a 24-hour fitness after the sun has gone down and there's lights everywhere. That is the person that is going to be kind of maximally negatively impacted by that kind of circadian disruption.
Got it. So it's maybe what we're seeing there is it's just the absolute change of intensity, right? I mean, if it's like if you hardly have any light during the day, then a little bit of light at night makes a big difference. If you're getting this huge bright bolus and working outside and getting the maximum sunlight, then by relatively those lights in your house and your screen are a lot less intense. It's a lot. It's a lot. Relative to your peak exposure, it's a lot different. So I could see that. And there's now there's also I've been trying to flip around and multitask while we're but I mean I can hardly task much, so I don't know why I'm trying to multitask. But there was isn't there a website that you can go to that'll tell you? Are you familiar with this? It'll tell you.
Oh, the latitude and longitude and all that.
Like, here's your peak UV, or during the day. Like there's some kind of site people can.
I have that bookmarked. I'll track it down and stick it in the comments on this. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You put in your latitude, longitude, and it tells you where to track that down, and then it will. And this is assuming that you've got a reasonably cloudless day. Then it will tell you what the average peak UV intensity would be at a given time and how much vitamin D you would produce. but there's variability on that. Like if you're
Right.
darker skinned, then you know, it's going to require more time and all that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, and Lenny just mentioned DMinder is a great app for that. I haven't checked that out, but Lenny is one of the only guys that I've met who has arms on par with yours. So he is a myostatin knockout beast.
Well, I don't think my arms are what they used to be, but then again, they probably never were. Let's see what else we got. Andrew says they didn't have Kindles during the Paleolithic era either, but he's going to give it a shot. So I'll let you respond to that one because I know you love that. I'm sure you're sick and tired of talking about it. I mean, I feel so defensive over, all you guys that are that are fighting that battle all the time about the Whole Foods and all the negative stuff that comes out towards it, all the snide little comments, and I just can't. I'm maybe I'm just old and I'm out of it, but like I just can't see the argument for saying that you should eat meats, fruits, vegetables, and nuts and seeds and call it a day. I mean, like how that gets under people's skin just is mind-boggling to me. I don't know how you fight that. People want to, every time a skeleton's found, or I don't know, like they just,
I self-medicate frequently.
Yeah.
I'm just medicated throughout the day most of the time. So, yeah.
Fortunately, I don't think they're going to be finding any, fossils that are going to tell us how long people slept or anything. So I don't think
Right.
I don't think my world's going to be getting
not a super
like
contentious deal. Yeah.
No, I mean the research is pretty damn steady in my field. Everybody says the same thing, and they've been finding the same thing. So
right.
So cool. I think that's all the questions that I see. I know we had a couple of more this morning, but I'm pretty sure I tied them in to to our conversation today. So I think my team's going to set it up for you to be able to launch this on your Facebook page as well.
Okay.
And they do the subtitles because apparently, like 80% of people who watch video watch
Don't
it without
listen to the
sound.
sound. Yeah.
You knew, I was so blown away by that. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it would have never occurred to me. Like, why would I watch the video if I wasn't going to listen to it? Like, why would I just listen to the podcast, right? Like Ben Shapiro has, his podcast. You can watch it or listen to it, and it's like take your choice. But why? I don't know why. I don't know. These kids are weird today, man.
They absolutely are. Yeah.
So we're going to get this. This will be subtitled. They'll crank it around, get it back to you. We just want to basically, catch up, but then, just let people know that there is a capsule version now that for the Whole30 compliant folks, but also just, if people aren't into xylitol or have poor tolerance of anything to do with the flavor or whatever the drink. The capsules take longer to work. I don't think they're quite as effective, but I'd say they're 90%. They're probably 90% as good. We have the quiz, the Facebook. I think the Facebook quiz leads you to a drawing to get a sleep bundle, and we're doing some stuff for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So, we'll try to get this out to your crowd. People can get some big discounts if they want to get started. And then we're giving away like some glasses and sleep mask and, samples of the new flavor and all that. And then anyone in your audience, I think I said at the beginning, but anyone who's been on subscription already, we're going to give them, free sample, a 3-pack sample of the new flavor. And then people can, change around. They can have lemon lime 1 month and apple cinnamon the next month and capsules the next month, or however they want to do it. So trying to make it a little less boring for folks.
Cool.
So that's about it on the I guess if we want to call that thing a business, you know, the business, the business front, it's yeah. So
that's our hard sell on the sleep remedy.
Yeah. So that's our shameless plug of the sleep remedy. Go get it. Yeah, but I will say, you know, I tell this story all the time. I don't know if you remember it, but it was this house, and you and I were both lecturing at an event. Might have been Mark Devine's gig on Dual Mind. It was like a couple of years ago, and you came in, and it was just you and I here, and you know, you said, "Oh, you know, I'm mixing up a sleep cocktail. Do you want one?" And I was like, you know, and I told you, I said, you know, laughably, you know, although I run this supplement company, I don't have any of it of my own. I've been out for like 2 months because, you know, I live between two cities, right? So I'm like, you know, 40% of the time I'm in San Diego, 60% of the time I'm in Austin, and so I don't have, you know, I don't have any of the product in my house. And so I hadn't been taking it, like, you know, for a month or something, or a few months. Like every time I came to San Diego, I just keep forgetting to have the warehouse send me some. So you're making yours, and you said, do you want one? And I said, oh, I don't have any. And you're like, oh, I got an extra one. And I was like, no, I'm good. And you're like, are you sure? And, you know, like your little drug dealer way, you'll smirk. And I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll have it. Because I fold the peer pressure like a lawn chair, and then I think we talked about it on the drive the next day. It's like I took it, and you know, I don't have any problems with sleep. I can sleep anywhere, anytime. My only sleep problem is that I just deprived myself of it to be a go-getter, to get after it and go get some, and you know, sleep 5 hours a night, and you know, that's my only sleep problem. So I'd been sleeping fine, I thought, and then I took you know, you talked me into taking that. I woke up the next morning and we talked about it on the drive. I'm like, man, I feel so much better. Like I just feel, I'm like, I can't believe I forgot about this. It's like when you don't exercise for a while, and then you get back to exercising, you're like, what the hell was I thinking? You know, like not exercising for the last 3 weeks or a month or whatever, and you're just like, I'm a totally different person. And that's kind of how I felt. And it's like, man, it's such a big difference. So you know, that, not a marketing plug at all, but you know, I think it would legitimately, you know, be beneficial to folks to at least like go buy the samples, or, you know, we have the free samples, you just pay the shipping and handling for, and then I think if you use that throughout the holidays, you know, especially when you're traveling on the planes and stuff, I really honestly believe it'll make a difference. I mean, I can't make that claim and say that it will, because I don't have the research to back it. But in my experience, I really think it'd make a big difference to improve the quality of sleep, even, you know, 10, 15%, even if you don't have sleep problems. I think you're going to come out of the holidays stronger.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we have one more something pop up. So with someone like myself with lupus, I have photosensitivity to direct sunlight. It makes me rash up. I get sick. We're very strong sunscreen. Started taking vitamin D supplement. What should my dose be, and how can I still get the recommended amount of light so that it doesn't interrupt my rhythms? Go. I'm giving that to you.
Oh, man. So a couple of thoughts there. I would, and this is for Jocelyn, what I would do, and again, you gotta play with this. You know that you're photosensitive, but I would look at what the UV index is for the day. You can pull that up on your smartphone, typically under the weather app, or you can just kind of pull up your location, weather, and it will usually have the UV index. And then I would just try a microdose. Like you start off with a minute and you document 1 minute at a UV index of like 5 or 6 and see what happens. Now, that I still suspect that there's going to be benefit getting a microdose of sun on your person. And then from there, I don't really like sunscreen that much. I prefer hats, long clothing and whatnot to then mitigate that exposure. But then just simply being outside. So there's different interfaces with the light as it interacts with our body. One is the skin surface. The other is the light going into our eyes. So if you're just outside, even wearing a hat and long sleeve shirt, long pants, that still is going to really benefit you from the circadian entrainment side.
Right.
So I would play with what you can do as far as, you know, how much direct sun exposure you can get. And again, I mean, start at a minute, you know, and at 1 minute at a UV index of 6 or whatever. And if it's a UV index of 10, maybe it's 30 seconds or something. Like, I don't know what the exact right answer is on that. And I don't want to give you a 3rd-degree sunburn, clearly. So,
right.
you know, be really smart about the way you do that. But I do still think there would be benefit getting a little exposure and then just being outside so that the circadian entrainment is happening through the eyes. And so, Jocelyn, that would be my recommendation in that. But again, go slow, go easy. We're not talking about a George Hamilton 1980s like a leather handbag tan. Like, that's not going to happen for you. That's not what I'm recommending. But, you know, getting as microdose as you can, and then possibly over the course of time, you may find that you can kind of ratchet that up just a little bit. But again, staying under that threshold where you burn.
Yeah. And I would say that there's also very likely benefit to exposing more skin for a shorter amount of time than
right.
and trying to get as much vitamin D sort of you know, light exposure, say on like half your body, like uncovered arms and legs, versus, you know, being in just a pair of shorts or a bikini or, you know, something like that. Just, you know, just because I mean, I'm absolutely positive that there's more to the process going on in the skin when we're converting and making vitamin D3 from the sunlight. There's absolutely more going on than just the, you know, putting vitamin D3 in the, or, you know, the hormone of vitamin D3 in the serum. Like, there's way more to it. There's I fully believe that, you know, there's some biological clock sensitivities, and maybe this is all unearthed and I'm just ignorant of it, but I fully believe that there's way more to every process than, you know, saying, well, you know, all this does is, you know, create vitamin D3, so you take vitamin D3 and you're back on par. You can just shine lights in your eyes. I don't believe that. I think that, oddly enough, I think that we're actually part of this planet, and we're supposed to, you know, interact with the planet the way kind of we evolved to interact with the planet. And I think, you know, seeing the sun is part of that. And it's a crazy, wacky idea. But, you know, I just kind of, there's almost like this sci-fi kind of feeling to life now, as to where we've just really just sort of said, hey, you know, thanks for the ride up to here, but like, we got it.
We got it. Evolution. We got it figured out. Yeah.
Like we have science books and stuff, and we can microscopes, and we got it all figured out, and we've got these chemical pathways figured out. So we're just going to do whatever the hell we want to from now on. We don't really need the planet anymore. I mean, yeah, we need some of the dirt to grow some stuff now and then and kill some of the animals and that, you know, but whatever, like, you guys just, you know, the planet can just keep going. And it's really at this point to where, like, we really are sort of riding along on the planet and like choosing when we interact with the planet, when, you know, we're just part of the planet, just like like every other animal and insect and plant is. Like, we're supposed to be just part of it. And the more people just don't, not to get philosophical, but I think just the more people think of themselves as actually being a part of this planet, and not you know, just using the planet for resources. I think it'll, you know, it's likely to have some benefits that we can't see, you know. All right, man. That's the last question I see. We blathered for way too long. Probably no one's going to watch this anyway. But hey, gave us something to do this morning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so we got the Robb Wolf birthday coming up in January. What are you asking Santa for?
Another birthday.
Another birthday. One at a time, man.
Just one at a time. Yeah. If I can work that for a while, I'll be happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Cool. How much? So, you still getting out to jits regularly? I haven't really.
Yeah, pretty good. Like 3 to 5 days a week for the most part. So yeah. Motoring along. Yeah.
I don't want to roll with you anymore either. Then I'm just me rolling with myself.
Well, that's sometimes the best roll. So yeah.
All right, brother. It's very good to see you. You know, we'll get back in touch soon after this, and you know, let's set up a Lazy Lobo kind of reunion or something.
Reunion.
Or
Awesome.
Or if you guys want to come out to Austin, whatever. But you know, since you got the Munchkins, it's probably easier for me to come to you. And, yeah, we can catch up, and I'll try to get into the gym so that I can, so that you don't choke me out like every 13 seconds.
It won't be faster than every 15 seconds, I promise.
Right.
Although the altitude definitely plays to my favor here. People don't realize that Reno is in fact mile high, so it definitely helps. Yeah.
Well, and what also plays to your favor is that I have the endurance of a hippopotamus. You know? So, yeah, despite years and years of trying, I've just never been able to crack that code of becoming an endurance athlete. So,
you just need to go fast and then rest.
Yeah, I'm hard to beat for a few minutes, but if you can just stay alive for 3 minutes, you probably got me.
Perfect. Okay, we'll do it. Awesome, Doc. Good seeing you.
Brother.
Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, and I'll talk to you in the next few days.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Out.